Hi everybody and welcome back. This will be an exciting episode because we just finished the underfloor heating that we was doing, and I can show you now in details how we did that. So this will be a step-by-step video of how to install electric underfloor heating. Let me give you a few details. This is a living room and sitting room, or living room and dining room together. We have about 25 square meters of electrical underfloor heating. We'll have insulation boards first, then we'll have the underfloor heating, and then we'll have a self-leveling on top of that. First thing that we did was to remove the carpet. We removed the underlay, we removed the carpet grippers, we removed the skirting, we cleared the floor, and now we're putting the first primer on the floor. This particular primer is just a PVA mixed with water on a ratio of 50-50, so 50% water, 50% PVA. So we're just about to glue the insulation boards on the floor. We're using flexible tile adhesive. You can see here we started the installation of the insulation boards. This particular one is a 6mm insulation board. I will show you now is made from a foam. You see it has like a foam inside and is coated with cement and reinforcement mesh on either side. So this also acts as a tile backer board. So you can install this on wood substrates or on concrete or cement screeds, wherever this will go on anything. We are going to stick these boards down using rapid set tile adhesive, flexible tile adhesive, and also rapid. So I have these bags, and I had some more from the other brand. They pretty much the same. I like this green one in particular more than the other one, but we wasn't very close to our normal supplier, so I just got the other one instead. So yeah, when you gluing these boards down, obviously if it's a solid substrate, just obviously use the tile adhesive. If you install them on the wood substrate, so floorboards or plywood, you have to also use adhesive, but you have to use some screws and washers as well. So tip number one, always use insulation boards. This is not an option, this is a must. I always see people doing the mistake of not having these insulation boards under the underfloor heating, so then they wonder why it's taking that long to warm up, or why it's taking so much power, and why they are paying so much when it comes to electricity cost. Well, this why, because a lot of that heat will get lost. A lot of that heat will obviously go down into your subfloor and it won't come up through your tiles. So obviously the thicker the insulation is, the better will be. I mean, mainly you will have a 6mm insulation because most of the time when we're doing this, it won't be the whole house, so you will have differences in floor levels. Like in here, the kitchen floor does not get done at this time, so obviously even like this with 6mm will probably be about 10mm over the kitchen floor. So 6mm is good enough. If you can do 10 or 12, even better, but like I said, insulation boards are a must. We did stagger the joints, so always glue this insulation down in a brick effect pattern, so you should never have straight runs. You can see me obviously putting them down, pushing them with my hand, or even walk on them and move them a little bit just to make sure that they are in full contact with the adhesive. These insulation boards are not very cheap. They're about 10-11 pounds each. In this particular room we needed about 38 to 40 pieces, but trust me, it will worth all the money once that you start using your underfloor heating, because without this you probably pay double or maybe even more into your electricity bill. Like I said earlier, if you glue these insulation boards onto a wooden substrate as like floorboards or chipboard or plywood, you have to obviously use flexible tile adhesive. You have to prime the subfloor with a proper primer for wood. So PVA and water won't be good enough. You need to use a proper primer that actually work for wood. And also, after you putting the adhesive down, you put the board down, and you have to use these special screws and washers for this type of insulation. Okay, so we completed now the insulating of the floor. So the insulation boards are all stuck down. It's all dry because we use rapid set adhesive. We can walk on them, and after this we can plan how we're gonna lay the underfloor heating. If you have a layout from the supplier, even better. If not, I will show you how to do it. But before that, we have to test the actually underfloor heating mats and make sure that they are not damaged. So every box that contains an underfloor heating mat will have instructions and a book with what you have to do. So you can see here, this particular mat is 10 square meters, and on the right hand side I pencil the resistance. So this is what our tester should read when we put on this mat. Just bear in mind the readings can be either lower or higher to a maximum 10%, which is obviously allowed by the supplier. So if you are into that 10% from your actually standard readings, then you are fine. Different manufacturer obviously might be different, but this particular one does say it can be either higher or lower by 10%. Okay, so now I'm gonna connect the tester to these two cables, so the blue and the brown, and let's see what the readings are. So 27.3. I will do it once again with the cables on the actually insulation board. 27.3, and I think in the book I can't see very well, but I think it was 26 point something. So yeah, 26.45 I think. Yeah, 26.45. Yeah, so we are obviously in those readings. Obviously there's not 10%, is a lot lower than that. I never found one to be that far off from the actually standard readings. Okay, so after we checked the mats and we found out that they're all good and they are all in the readings, I'm gonna show you how to mark the floor. So in this particular case, we are marking the floor at around 14 centimeters from the wall. Normally the manufacturer recommends 10 centimeters, which is enough, but in this case we're doing 14 and a half centimeters. I'm not gonna tell you too much about why we're doing 14 and a half. You will see this when we are going to install the tiles. So basically the tiles will have a border which is about 10 centimeters, and we'll show you why we leave 14 and a half centimeters. But basically we go all around the perimeter and we mark a line that is 14 and a half centimeters from the wall. You have to do 10 or 5, whatever you think is best for you, but like I said, it should be about 10 centimeters from the floor, from the wall, sorry. You will have to know where you're going to put your thermostat, because this cable, this black cable, will actually go inside your thermostat, so this will get connected to your thermostat. So when you know where you're going to have the thermostat, just go ahead and install this cable. Hang it on the wall or put it in a tube or something, and then you can, after you have this cable in place, then you can start laying your underfloor heating mat. You can see me cutting the insulation there is because wherever the mat is gets connected into this cable, into the supply cable, obviously there's a bigger connection there and it's thicker, so we don't want to have that on the insulated board and then have the screeding, the self-leveling to be that thickness, because that will probably have to be about 10-12 mil to cover the cable. We're only gonna have the self-leveling about 5 millimeter, just enough to cover the heating coil. Self-leveling compound is not a must. I'll recommend to put the tiles straight on the heating mat if possible. In this particular case it's not possible. It's quite a big room. We'll have herringbone pattern tiles, which are obviously time consuming, plus the lady has a pet, has a dog, so yeah, just having the cable exposed doesn't really work for us. So we are going to put self-leveling compound on. I will explain that when we gonna do it. Now I will show you how we laying the mat. So now we're laying the mat and we try to be inside of those lines that we marked from the wall. In this particular case, 14.5 centimeters from the wall. So obviously never cut the wire, you have to cut the mesh. So you see the line, you see the cables. We need to cut the mesh there, you see, just be careful. Yeah, we just cut the mesh like that and we just turn it around, you see. You understand why we cut it there, because we need to continue the cable. If we was going to cut it on the other side, then obviously it wouldn't fold this way. So yeah, you just put it next to each other and lay it, push it down, you know, with your hands, just because this is a self-sticking mat, just push it down with your hands. Okay, another tip will be never lay electric underfloor heating under any fixed furniture, or you know, like kitchen cabinets or bathtub, anything that is fixed and it doesn't have where the doesn't have any obviously holes or any gaps for the heat to escape. Yeah, don't install any underfloor heating under those, because you will find out that it will overheat and the cable might burn. Every piece of furniture that is on legs and it does have a few centimeters for the heat to escape, then it's fine. You can lay underfloor heating there without any problems. People are obviously confusing sometimes and saying, oh, we're gonna have a sofa there. Well, yes, if the sofa doesn't sit straight on the actually floor with no gaps, then yes, you can put underfloor heating under, as long as there is room for the heat to escape. You will see here that we are actually crossing with this cable the line that we just marked. You see, even the mat and even this cable that we have to return. Yeah, you see, as sometime you have to take the cable off the actually mesh and just turn it around. If you don't have enough space to put your mesh, that's fine, not a problem. Make sure you stick it down with the tape that is being supplied. Just a normal duct tape will do. This is also duct tape, it's just that it's thinner. So let's call this area a safe zone. So the distance from the wall to the actually pencil line, let's call it a safe zone. So if you're ever gonna cross this safe zone, it's fine, you can do it, but just make sure you remember, you take photos, you mark the wall, and you do everything you can so you remember that there's a cable there. Or even if it's not for you, because you might not be back there and you obviously you probably will remember, but if someone else will come back in 5 or 10 years time from now, make it so it's obviously visible for everybody. Say to the client, take photos, you know, mark the wall behind the skirting where there's a cable, and so on, so on. Try to make it as obvious as possible. These days obviously it's so much easier than before. They have like thermovision cameras. They can pretty much put the camera on and then they can see where the coil works, sorry, where the coil goes. But just don't don't presume that everybody will have one. They're not very cheap, so not everybody or every electrician will have one. So ideally is take a couple of photos, send them in the email to the client with your final bill, so he can remember, just in case something will have to be done in the future. He has knowledge of what's going there and how the cable's going. Okay, so the first mat is installed. So the first one has 10 square meters, and this is how far we got. You can see in here again, we are in the line. We did took all the cable from the actually mesh, and we lay like that. And now when we start with the next one, we'll have a line to start. Now you see me placing two sensors on here. So every mat that I'm doing, it will have two sensors. So the sensors will have to be installed at least 300 millimeters from the wall. In this case, I think I installed them 300 millimeters inside the actually mat. We need them to be somewhere where they will have a good reading, so don't put them on the side where there's no underfloor heating and you might not have an accurate reading. I am always installing two sensors, not just one. So one sensor is supplied with a kit, and now I am buying another one separate, and I always install two just in case one of them will go. Then we don't have to smash any tiles and install another sensor, because I will have a spare one in every single thermostat that I'm doing. Just for the record, I never had a sensor that has stopped working, but I heard that can be possible. So for the sake of £13 extra, I will install an extra sensor, and I will leave it in the back box as a spare sensor. When you are installing the sensor, just make sure that they are not touching or crossing any of the heating cables. Now, a very important tip that I want to give you is the back box. So you will have a back box where all these cables will get connected into the actually thermostat. So you will have a sensor or maybe two sensors. You will have a power cable, so the supply cable, and you will have the cable from the mat, or maybe two cables from two mats, depending on how big the room is. Now, don't do a mistake to install a 25 millimeter deep back box. Do a 46 or 47 millimeter back box. Yes, so the bigger, the deeper, the better. 35 millimeters will be just fine, will be very tight, but it will work. Ideally, put a back box that is 47 millimeters deep, because for this particular mat, 15 square meter is the maximum that you can put in one thermostat. We will have two thermostats and three heating mats to do the room. Obviously, we'll have two sensors in each thermostat. Okay, so these are the other mat and the other sensors. So let me show you this tube, this flexible tube that they supply to put the actually sensor in. So they reckon if the sensor go busted, then you can just pull the old sensor out and just place new one in. Well, I can't really get my head around how you're gonna put this sensor into this tube and put it and push it back there, because this is a very flexible sensor. So I just don't think that will work. So I just better put two sensors and I will never have a problem. Right, so we finish all the mats. So we have one thermostat with one mat that is 10 square meters, and one thermostat with two mats, 1 8 and 1 7 square meters. So both together are 15 meters. You can see we have to bring all the supply, all the cables, all the connections that will get into the thermostat in the same place. So this is all the cables. You can see we put them on the side, and we try to stay out of that pencil line. So they either in the inside or on the outside of the line. but not crossing the line. You will see later on why. Okay, so this is the room finished. All the underfloor heating is in place now. I forgot to tell you about the power of this. This is a 200 watts per square meter. In UK mainly they do 200, 150 or 100 watts per square meter. So the 150 and 200 watts per square meter, they can be used as a primary heating, and the 100 watts per square meter, it cannot be used for primary heating, and is more to have it like a warm floor in the bathroom or just for comfort. Okay, so now will be the time to do the self-leveling compound. This is what we're using. This is not a sponsored video. I like this stuff. It's relatively cheap. It's fast dry. It does dry in 2 hours, like they say on the actually bag. Um, yeah, it's good with underfloor heating. Always make sure that the screw that you're using is for underfloor heating. A good practice will be when you are mixing self-leveling compound is to see on the bag how many liters of water you need to mix. Do the first mix, see if it's okay, and then mark the bucket with a marker or do a scratch, and always put the same amount of water in the bucket. It will make it much easier to do the same consistency every time, because if you ever did self-leveling compound, you know sometimes you get it a bit thicker, sometimes you get it a bit loose, and you know it doesn't go the same, it doesn't run the same. So always try to put the same amount of water, and it will save you a lot of hassles. Self-leveling compound, though, like I said earlier, is not a must. It will add some cost to the materials, because a self-leveling compound that works with underfloor heating is not very cheap, but at the same time I think your tile installation will go a bit quicker, because you don't have to worry about any cables or anything like that. You just throw the adhesive on and you crack on with the tiles. Don't put it too much. I mean, don't pour it too thick. I said 5 maybe 6 millimeters top, because just remember, the more you put on, the more time will take the heat to obviously reach your tiles. So do it as minimum as possible. We always do it, like most of the time we screed the floor, and to be fair, I never heard anyone having a problem with the underfloor heating. I mean, in terms of electricity bills and stuff like that. Pouring self-leveling compound is quite easy. You just have to obviously mix it and then put it down, and use this trowel to kind of like level it up. Definitely use this trowel, especially with this one that has fibers inside. I know it's called self-leveling compound, but if you think that you're just gonna pour it, you'll pour all the bucket in one place, and the self-leveling will go everywhere and will be the same level. I'm telling you that that is not going to happen. Especially this one, you can see we use the water that has been specified on the bag, and obviously this one is quite thick, looks quite thick. Obviously the more water you put inside, the more self-leveling properties will have, but that will take longer to cure, and I don't know if it will be the same strength wise. We are always using a self-leveling that has a fast drying time. You can see us by the back door, and then in here in the front the screw is already drying up, so is about 2 hours, and then you can actually walk on the screed, maybe even less depending of the weather. Another tip will be, if you have any places where the actually sticking mat of the underfloor heating is going up, and is lifted by the actually self-leveling, you can place two pieces of timber like we did in this image. So it's one here, one by the back door, but just before the screed gets harder they will have to be removed. So the installation is complete. All we have left to do is to get the electrician on site, which is on this image, and have all the cables connected and tested. Just to let you know, for this room we had to run a 6mm cable from the actually fuse board. The cable is located behind this wall, which is a cupboard under the stairs, and we'll have a switch there that will connect both of these underfloor heating mats, well, all three of them. Basically both two thermostats will get connected there, and in here you can see why a deep back box will become handy. I mean, there are a few cables, plus you will see that the actually thermostat it's quite bulky inside. Okay, let me show you how the back box looks inside. You can see here we have a spare sensor, we have the earth from the actually supply and from the mat, and then we'll have the sensor. You should always have this job planned with an electrician or work alongside with an electrician, but the most important is that he will have to check the cables, he will have to check everything you did, and also do the connections and certify the job if it's required. So the last tip for today will be always check your underfloor heating mat after you open the box like I showed you earlier, and also check it every time you do something that might cause any damage to the mat. So for instance, after you did the self-leveling compound, check again and see if the cables are still in good condition. Before the tiling or after the tiling, yeah, just check regularly. If there is a fault, you want to find that as soon as possible. This is how the thermostat looks with all the cables, all the wires connected in. Okay, so this will be the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was clear enough. I hope I explained everything so everybody can understand. But if there are any questions or something wasn't very clear, just drop me a comment, and please hit the like button if you like the video, hit the subscribe button. That's gonna help me making more video, knowing that people are actually liking the video that I'm making. So yeah, that will be all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. All the best.